Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a coronavirus crash course pistol training video, and the pistol that I'm going to focus on is a striker fired pistol. I'm going to be using this Glock 17 as the example. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because a lot of people in the last month have purchased firearms for the first time, and they got the gun, they got the ammunition, and they don't have any previous experience or training on using these guns. And when they bought the gun store told them that it's really important that you go find an instructor to train you, and they said yes, we will. But the problem is now, because of the lockdowns and all the stuff that's going on, the ranges are closed. People can't get to the range. They cannot find an instructor. So now they're in a situation where they've got the equipment, right? They have the gun, they have the ammunition, but they cannot get the training. So I'm doing this video and I'm gearing it towards those people. And because of the situation, I'm going to approach this video in a somewhat unorthodox way, because normally when I train people, we're on the range, we're able to do live fire exercises, and we can't do that now. So this training session, this training video, or this training approach is the equivalent of trying to teach somebody how to drive by basically sitting in a driveway with the engine running, but you can't actually drive the car. So it's a little hard to teach people how to drive, but there's a lot of things that we can accomplish here. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and learn as much as we can. Like I said, we're working with the Glock 17, which is a striker fired gun. And the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is, if you're going to do these exercises that I'm going to show you, you're going to pick a place in your house where you can safely point the gun in that direction. So a basement is pretty ideal, because if you're in the basement, which is in the ground, you know that you can point the gun at any wall in your basement, and even if the gun were to discharge, it's not going to hurt anybody, or it's not going to really damage the building that much. Just don't point the gun up, okay? If you don't have a basement, then maybe you can go to the top floor and point the gun in a direction that is safe, where there's no houses that are obviously out across from you. So that might be an option. So you kind of have to look at your situation and figure out where the safe direction is. So that's the first rule. Gun always stays pointed in a safe direction. Second rule, we're going to keep our finger off the trigger, straight finger like this, like lock, straight like that, until we keep it straight until we're ready to shoot. Okay. So for the, since we're not going to be, well, actually we will be doing some dry fire exercises, but it's important for you guys to know, for most other operations of the gun, the finger stays straight. And the third rule is that we treat the gun as if it's always loaded. Okay. So it doesn't matter if the gun's loaded, unloaded, jammed, whatever. Gun's always loaded. Okay. So those are your three safety rules. Okay. Now that said, we need to learn how to use this gun, and since we can't get to the range with an instructor, we're going to do the best that we can. So first thing I want you guys to know is, with a striker fired gun like this Glock 17, Glock 19, Glock 22, whatever, the gun doesn't have a safety. Okay, the holster is the safety. Okay, when you put the gun in the holster, and if you look over here, the holster, basically the plastic covers the trigger. Okay, so it covers the trigger guard, so you cannot accidentally hit that trigger and accidentally fire this gun. So because this Glock 17 has a very light trigger pull, okay, it has to be used together with a hard Kydex holster like this one. Okay, you cannot use this with a soft holster like this. Okay, this holster I use with a gun like this, but this holster is a double action only. Okay, this gun has a very long, I'll do it this way, so you get a very long trigger pull. Okay, so it has a very long trigger pull. So because it has such a long trigger pull, when it's in the holster, even though it's soft and I can kind of feel my way through it, okay, there's no way I can pull the trigger that far back to set this gun off. However, this gun, because it has a much shorter, lighter trigger pull, if it was in a holster like this, you could accidentally fire the gun. Even a leather holster, you don't want to use a leather holster, because what happens with leather, over time the leather collapses, as you can see the fabric here is starting to collapse. So it must be, a striker fire gun must be used with a hard Kydex holster. Okay. So the other thing to know is that down the road, when you're ready to use this gun, because this gun has a light trigger pull, you can't just load this gun with a rounded chamber and like just put this in your nightstand, because in a situation where, let's say, somebody's breaking into your house, okay, maybe the lights are off or maybe the power's been cut off, whatever the situation is, if you're fumbling around the dark trying to find this gun in your nightstand or wherever you have it hidden, and you don't know what the orientation of the gun is, if you accidentally put your finger in that trigger guard, you're gonna fire this gun. So what you want to do is, when this gun is loaded around the chamber, you want to find this gun in the holster. So no matter how I pick up this gun, I cannot accidentally hit that trigger. I want to find the gun in the holster, and now I can grip it. And now I have a good, even in the dark, I have a good sense of how this gun is oriented. And I can basically pull it out of the holster, and I know that my finger is going to be off the trigger. Okay. So you want this gun in the holster, whether it's in your nightstand or whether it's on your belt. It stays in a holster once it's loaded. Okay. Moving on, what we're going to start off with. Okay, when this video is geared towards brand new shooters, just bought their guns, zero training. You've got your gun, you've got your ammunition. I'm pretty sure that I'm 100% sure that the gun store did not give you a loaded gun to take home. So we know that the gun is not loaded in the box. Okay, so we're going to go through a process where we do check if the gun is not loaded, because anytime you pick up a gun where you're not sure if it's loaded or not loaded, you always want to check it. But we're going to kind of go through it in a step-by-step process. First thing I want you guys to do is pick up the gun, get a firm grip on the gun. Okay, and the way you're going to grip the gun, okay, when you grip the gun, you're going to get up here. You see that piece that's going to match up to the soft part on my hand over here. The knuckle is on the side. You don't want your knuckle here, because when the gun fires, it's going to go into your knuckle. Knuckle on the side, straight finger as high as you can on the gun. Okay, like that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to practice taking the magazine out. There's a button over here. Actually, I should have came over here. There's a button over here, and I want you to just practice hitting that button. Take your magazine out. Hit the button. Take the magazine out. Okay. If you cannot reach it with this thumb, use this one. Okay. I'm basically doing an emergency training session here with you guys. I'm not teaching you guys how to be competition shooters. So if you need to use this hand to get that magazine out, use that hand. Okay, so get comfortable with that. Get to the point where you can do this without looking at it. Okay, that's the first step. Okay, you gotta be able to get that magazine in and out. Okay. Next thing you're gonna do is take the magazine out. Again, get high on the gun, knuckle on the side. Next thing, and this is really important, you're gonna practice opening up the slide. Okay. And when you do this, one of the things that you can do initially is basically look in your chamber. The chamber is basically that, the end of the barrel there with the hole. Look in there, make sure that there's no bullet in there. If there is, you'll see you'll see this, right, the back of the bullet. Right now, I just want you to get comfortable working the slide. Okay, you can practice opening it up like that. Practice working it like that. Okay, and this is important. Okay, what this is doing is it's teaching you how much pressure you need to apply to this gun with this hand here. Okay, if you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, doing this hand, you gotta practice figuring out how much pressure you need to apply. Now, I didn't get into the whole, which is your dominant eye thing, because, I think that's a little bit too much stuff to try and teach people over the internet. In this video anyway, I'd rather, if you're learning how to use a gun from this video, right, I'd rather you just use the hand that you're used to using, okay? So if you're right-handed, keep it in your right hand, and just practice working your slide, and pay attention to what you need to do, because what you'll notice is that in order for you to move the slide back and forth, this hand has to stay firm, okay, so that this can push against it, and that's regardless of what position you're in. That hand has to stay firm. If you hold this weak, okay, basically you'll notice that the whole gun's going to start moving around. Okay, we call this limp wristing. Okay, and what's happening is, as the whole gun is moving around, that slide is not coming back all the way, and what that's going to do is it's going to jam the gun. So it's important for you to get used to how much pressure you need to apply in order for that slide to be able to open up. Okay, you don't want to see this when you don't want to see any of that. You want it like that. So you have to master that. You have to master that. Okay? Okay, so good. We got that. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna practice gripping the gun with the other hand, with the off hand. Basically, you see this hole here? That's the weakest point in my grip. I'm trying to close that hole up. Take this meaty part right here and basically plug it in there. You see how my hands fit together like a puzzle piece? Okay, so you got your hand here. That goes on top and you squeeze and push your shoulders forward, okay? Now some people will push their thumb up against the bottom half. If you do that, make sure you don't have it against the top, because remember, this is going back and forth. If you put your thumb up here, you're gonna jam your gun up. So you're gonna either put your hand here. I just, especially over the internet teaching people, I just tell you to hold it out like that, because there's less of a chance that you're gonna get your thumb up on that slide over there. If you got small hands, you can tuck it underneath. A lot of women like to tuck their hands underneath like that. Me, I just hold it straight out like this. Push your shoulders forward, okay? So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna push your shoulders forward like this and get used to this position, okay? So the same thing that we were doing before when we were going like this, except now you're fully extended, okay? Now we're gonna practice lining up our sights to aim. If you look on the back of the gun, you see the hole here? See the front sight over there? So this gun has a U over here and a dot in the front. Some guns will have like two dots over here and a dot in the front. What you want to do is you want to get that front dot in that box over there. So you got, you see this in the back, that stays at your eye level. Point the gun down a little bit so they match up like this. Don't do this. New shooters want to do that. Don't do that. You want this flat. Okay, and then what you're going to do is once you line them up flat, you're going to put it, you're going to pick a target on the wall. I'm looking at a doorknob over there. Let's say this is the doorknob. You're going to go underneath it like that so you can see it. Your target is going to stay on top of your sights. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the gun in your hand, hands like this, cycle the gun like we were doing before, cycle it, extend fully, okay? Put the soft part of your finger on the trigger, right, the middle pad right here, okay? And I want you to aim, I want you to squeeze the trigger and not move the sights off the target. Okay, so we got in position like this, underneath the target. I got a doorknob over here. So I got in position like this, underneath the target. When I squeeze the trigger, I don't want these things moving. I want it to be right there when I squeeze the trigger. So I squeeze the trigger, it doesn't move. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to do this repetitively. Lean into the gun. Not back here. People have a tendency to want to do this because the gun starts getting heavy on you. Fight the tiredness. Lean the gun forward, line up your sights, and practice squeezing the trigger so that the sights don't move. And doing this is important because this is teaching you, because we're doing two things here. Number one, we're squeezing the trigger without moving the sights. And number two, we're also getting used to this idea of how much pressure we need to push forward into the gun in order for it to cycle. Okay, so we're doing two things here. We're basically adding to the drill that we did before. Okay, you can also practice bringing it in, cycling here, coming out. Okay, when you come in, just tuck it in like this. Bring your hand on top. Okay, cycle it. Again, come straight out. Line up your sights and do that repetitively. Okay, and get used to getting your hands consistently into the same position as you come out. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to strap on the holster. Okay, and we're going to do it out of the holster. Okay, I'm going to do it this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. When we do the holster drill, left, if you're doing this right-handed, hand goes on your chest. And these holsters, nice thing about these holsters, you can just order them on the internet. Like this one's a Phobos. I think it's like $25, $30. They're cheap. They'll deliver it to your house. But you gotta have a hard holster for a striker fire gun. So the way we're gonna work the holster, the left hand goes on your chest. The reason I'm putting it on my chest is so that when I come out of the holster, I don't accidentally point the gun into my hand and shoot myself in the hand. So come up on the chest. If you have a long shirt like this, I'm also gonna use this hand to clear my shirt, out of the way. So in this case, from here, I'm gonna come up to my chest, grab my shirt, bring it up here, pull the gun, rotate, join, extend, okay, line up the sights and fire, okay, finger off the trigger, come back, okay, same deal, and put it in the holster. Now, this gun here happens to be a double action, double action. so I can squeeze the trigger repetitively. I'm going to go to this gun here, to the Glock 17, which, because we know that this is, basically I have to work the slide before I fire the gun, or before I'm able to fire the gun. And what I'm going to do is, when I come out of the holster, I'm going to practice basically working the slide. This way I can squeeze the trigger when I go to full extension. So as I come up, I'm going to come out, right? Same deal, I'm going to pull, rotate. And the reason why I want to rotate back here is because if I have somebody in grappling distance right in front of me, I can start shooting from here, okay? The same thing, I go to join. If I have somebody right in front of me, I can start, like 2 feet in front of me, I can shoot from here, and then I go to full extension, okay? So that's the reason why we do this the way that we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, pull, rotate, join. But first I'm going to rack my slide, then come out, line up my sights, squeeze the trigger, right? You can practice working that slide. Again, we're learning how much pressure we need to apply to the gun in order for it to cycle. Now, I'm not teaching you the slide thing here because you're going to do this when you go to shoot the gun. Okay, when we're ready to load this gun, we're going to keep around the chamber. So when we come out, okay, the gun is ready to fire. We don't need to chamber around. But the reason why we're doing it now is because this is a striker-fired gun. If I was doing it with this gun, which is double action only, with this gun I wouldn't be doing the slide action. I would just be coming out, taking my shot. Okay, go back in, come out, boom, boom, boom. That's the nice thing about double action. It actually makes practicing, doing dry fire drills a lot easier because I don't have to cycle the slide every time I want to practice with it. Okay, so that's your holster deal. You're practicing, clearing your garment, coming up, rotating, joining, coming out, lining up your sights, firing, and getting back into the holster. Okay, so that's the next thing that you're going to do. Okay, now moving on. The next thing you're going to do is you need to learn how to load your magazines. And as simple as it may sound, it's actually very hard for a lot of people, especially when the magazines are new and very stiff. Basically, it goes in butt first. Bullet sticks out. I see this all the time. People try to load them like this. Okay, they try to load because it's easier. Because basically it's more streamlined. It's easier to put it in like that. New shooters a lot of times try to do it like that. Basically, butt goes in first, and they point up. These are well broken in magazines, so they're going to go in very easy. If you got new magazines with stiff springs, they're going to be a little bit harder to load. Okay, so load them up, and then next thing you're going to do is you're going to practice just pushing them out into your hand. And the reason why we're doing this is because I want you to understand what's happening every time the slide goes forward. Every time the slide goes forward, it's basically peeling off around and putting it into the chamber. So that's an important aspect of your training. You gotta understand how the gun is working. So you load it up, okay? So when we rack that slide, right, we're pushing that first round into the chamber, okay? We pull that trigger, the bullet goes out, slide comes back, okay? Empty case, the case is this part back here, the empty case kicks out, then the slide goes forward, picks up the next round, pushes into the chamber, and the process repeats itself, okay? So you got to practice loading your magazines, okay? So that's as far as I'm going to go in this video because basically I can't do live fire exercises. And I'm intentionally doing this indoors because I understand that this is the situation for a lot of you people. You're all indoors now. So I wanted to give you a situation that's similar to yours. Now, after you practice this a couple of nights, a couple of days, you're going to have to basically load up the magazine. I'm not going to load up the whole, you're going to have to load up the magazine, put it, actually, I usually recommend that, because sometimes if you have a full magazine, sometimes it's really hard to jam it in there on your gun. So usually I tell people, lock the gun open, okay, lock the gun open, get your magazine in, okay, because basically when the gun's locked open, even if it's full, magazine goes in real easy, okay, and so there's no chance that it won't go in, okay, and once it's in, basically, get the rounded chamber, get the gun in your holster. Oh, actually I got a gun here. So get the gun in your holster if you're gonna carry, or if you're gonna put it in your nightstand. Okay, get the gun in your, or wherever you, in your safe or wherever. Get the gun in the holster, because this gun needs to be in a holster. Okay, and also basically. The next day you want to go back and you want to practice these drills, right? Because basically you got to do this repetitively. It's not like you're going to just do this 3 days in a row and that's it. Be careful. Make sure your finger's straight. Get the gun out of your holster. Drop the magazine. Get the round out of the chamber. Look at it. Make sure it's not loaded, right? And that once it's out and you're 100% sure, obviously now you're in your basement, so. Even if you make a mistake, all you're going to do is put a hole in your basement. It's not going to really hurt anybody. And basically go back to your dry fire drills. Okay? So, this is, like I said, this isn't ideal, but this is the best that a lot of people can do right now. And I wanted to make this information available to you guys. I basically put together this I've been thinking about this type of training for a couple of days now. And I wanted to piece together all the separate parts in such a way that it could transfer over to live fire at some point. Okay, if you guys have any other, because basically I wanted to focus on the striker fired gun today. If you guys have some other gun that you would like me to do a training demonstration, an indoor coronavirus training demonstration on, let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to do it. I'll put a little bit of thought into that, see how it will best work for that specific gun. I may not have that gun, but I have enough guns that I most likely have a gun like it. Okay. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.